Hello, this is Feng Shui Double Y here, and today I guess I'd just like to talk to you all about something that is pretty big. I haven't really been keeping a lot of updates on this channel. Maybe it's because I'm too lazy, maybe it's because I don't give enough of a crap. Maybe it's because I don't want to reveal too much before I actually get it finished, but, well, as some of you may know, I am writing a screenplay. And this particular screenplay is of a sequel to a famous movie that I'm sure that most 90s kids are familiar with, The Lion King. I'm writing a script for a third movie. Not the 1.5 movie like that stupid, it's not entirely dumb, but it's kind of dumb, like that stupid thing that just revolved around Timon and Pumbaa. It's an entirely new story. And, some people have said to me, like, oh, you can't do this. There can't be another sequel. You can't do this or it'll ruin it. I mean, I've dealt with my fair share of those people, and I've gained, and from all the support I've gained in this, they don't mean anything anymore. They were just trolls. I guess, people would ask, maybe they'd ask my motives, like, why would you want to do this just out of the blue? Well, I guess I could go back to the beginning. And it was somewhere around 2 years ago is when I actually decided that we could just, take action and just do it. But, why? Well, ever since I found out about The Lion King 2, like, I actually went in depth into it. And, I watched the stuff, and I couldn't believe it. Like, how stupid it was. The plot was dumb. The animation was so mediocre. All the drawings were inconsistent. It was pretty terrible. It wasn't all bad, but it was pretty bad. But, the one thing that got to me was the new characters, Kiara, Nuka, Kovu, Tani, Zira. It's just, they were promising, They didn't have, like, the best personalities, and you didn't even see, like, most all their personality. You didn't even get a glimpse of it. And then the main characters got screwed up and everything, and it just wasn't fair, They only made this for the sake of making money. And now that they've done this, it's been they did this in 1998. It's been a long time. It's been probably 14 years. And, well, I just wanted to do something about it, I just didn't think it was fair. I deeply respect art, like, I am very respectful. And as everybody knows, like, there are millions of forms. Media, sometimes they just like to trash everything. They're too worried about maintaining a franchise instead of making it all good. I'm not saying that this always happens or that it mostly happens, but it certainly happens a few times. Quite a few times. Originally, when I started getting thoughts of what would happen, like, after this movie, like everybody else, I was caught up in all the questions and the dumb theories. And I thought these were, like, outrageous idea. Like, the original idea was something around the lines of the afterlife merging with the real world. This outlandish idea of shadows. But it didn't work. Like, it was kind of stupid now back when I think about it. I mean, this was only 2 years ago. And then later that year, 2010, same year, like, later during that time, I decided to think of a much better story. And as more information got released of, like, theories, which kind of contradicted others, but kind of didn't help, I decided to take action. And during the time I was planning it, I was mostly it was just stuck in my head. I mean, I probably only started taking action maybe about a year ago, but it's been here for like 2 years. And I guess, like, a lot of the stuff, like, I know what stuff to not listen to because you're not supposed to believe everything you read, but I know what stuff is basically, like, true enough to listen to. Like, they've confirmed that Zira isn't Scar's mate, so, like, why would her? And, like, with Kovu, Daniel Rooney, he made a very vague comment about it. Oh, he was described as an orphan. That leads some people to believe that he was adopted, but I thought, like, what reason, if Zira wasn't even Scar's honey, Why would she even need to adopt a kid in the first place? Yeah, she was obsessively devoted to the guy, but it's not like she had 2 kids already. It's not like she couldn't have a third kid anyway. And, at first I thought that she was just pure evil. Like, I was just thinking stupidly. But when you get really insightful into this stuff, you could tell, like the characters were better than you thought they were. It's just that they were in a very bad movie. And I decided I'll give them a better one to be in. And the key things are definitely like the 2 key things that I knew I had to do. It has to keep true to the original and everything it stood for. But it also has to be new, fresh, and it has to have a great story behind it. I guess I could take one of my favorite movies ever. Like one of my favorite Disney Pixar movies is Toy Story. I loved all 3 of the movies. They were all amazing. It was just rare that all 3 of them could have been amazing. Toy Story 2 came so close to being a crappy direct-to-video thing, and then it became a full-length feature film in a dark era of which direct-to-video sequels raped all the meaning of the original movies. And I never believed how amazing they managed to make even the third one, how awesome they managed to make it for a second sequel. It was a second sequel that worked. It was great. Even though, like, the one thing I just had a problem with is they kind of screwed up the Andy. Like, they screwed up the way the humans looked in all 3 of them. They never looked the same. Like, that was the one thing that never kept consistent. But still, like, that's kind of what I want to do with this. I want to make a second sequel to a long time, a franchise that has for a long time been stagnant and hasn't really had anything new. Maybe they like do something for the 20th anniversary, but what my hopes is that I can get this done before that happens, and at the 20th anniversary celebration, a new film that doesn't suck. And the fact that I guess the one thing that really got on my nerves is the fact that I decided to bring back Nuka. And Nuka especially was a special case because it's like his, death. Like, oh, you can't bring him back. Logic says that he's too injured and everything. There's no medical treatment. These guys totally bombarded me, and I just didn't know what to do. So I thought really hard about how I could bring the guy back, and I came up with the best explanation I could. And you could tell that while those were big logs that fell on him, like for those of you who have watched it, they mostly like fell with him. They didn't all topple down on him. And it's possible for him to survive. I mean, people in fiction, they survive crazy shit all the time. So I came up with a really logical explanation. I don't want to get too in-depth, but let me just tell you, it's logical enough to make sense and to where I can bring it back without it being outrageous. And some might think he's an evil person, but he truly wasn't. I mean, he was seeking his mother's approval, like, for a long time. But that doesn't mean he was evil. He had no evil intentions. He just wanted his mother's approval. And that wasn't bad. And some might think that he hated Hogu, but you could just tell he didn't. Maybe not through so much his actions, but, I mean, it's about what Kobu thought. You always have to, like, really pay attention because of how bad this movie was. But it's like, if Kobu, if Nuka really was that bad with Kobu, Kobu wouldn't care. Like, Kobu wouldn't defend him, like, say, hey, it wasn't his fault, and he wouldn't try to save him. He'd try to jump over and get him out of the logs like that. Just rush over and get all... You can tell he was scared of that. I mean, that was his brother. And those of you who think, no, that's not his brother, Ritani isn't Zira's, there's no reason as to why they can't be. Basically, Zira is the mother of all 3 of those children. The only reason that was hard to think of is because Zira doesn't pass off as many traits to Kobu as she did to Nuka and Vitani, but they were clearly there. And it was also harder to tell because of the inconsistencies in the animation and the art. Luckily, there was somebody who found the Nuka and Vitani's colors, and it really cleared up the confusion because Nuka's fur, for example, is not gray, it's reddish-brown, and Kobu's falls on the same color spectrum, so you can tell they both have dark brownish fur, which they obviously didn't get from Zira. Like, that's just stuff that I considered. And really, like, when I suddenly got, like, all the questions, basically, I got all the answers to all the plot holes, which was probably, like, the most common complaint in this entire thing. It's just, where the hell did this all come from? Who were the outsiders? If Zira was really that devoted, where the hell was she during all this? Who is she exactly? Like, it just, It just wasn't fair to have that many unanswered questions. It just seems like when it's direct to video, it's just destined to be crappy because it's low budget, and they just don't put any effort into anything. Well, enough about ranting. Basically, I've come up with answers to all these questions, and the answers work. I can tell you guys that. And I can also tell you, like, yes, Nuka and Zero, they are both going to come back. Some may not like that as much, but it's going to work. Trust me, if I didn't have those guys in there, the story would not work. It's going to work. And Zero is an easy case. All she did was fall in a river. And they didn't even say dead or anything like that. So, yeah, I have to really pay attention to all these little circumstances and little loopholes whenever I'm thinking about this. But, now that I have all that resolved, it's not so bad anymore. And I'm an artist myself, so I learned how to draw in that style, and I also had to correct some of the characters' appearances. Like, let's take Vitani. Okay, you know how she has they had that stuff on her cheeks when she was a kid, and then for some reason they just totally took that off of her when she was a grown up. But it's like it would not grow out in this direction and just mold into her face. That makes no damn sense. I mean, look at Zero. She still has that stuff on her. And then the males grow the stuff out. Or like with Kobu, he had it when he was a kid. So basically, Vitani is not. She's supposed to look like she's supposed to have that stuff there. She's supposed to have a tuft, but it's supposed to be like she obviously still has her tuft, and she still has the stuff on her cheeks, and it's clearly there. It's in the similar shape as Zero's is. And Nuka, they did screw him up a little bit too. Like he is supposed to look like skinny, but not really crappy. He has a mane, like he has a like big enough mane, and he's like scar skinny. But he doesn't look like super ugly like they made him in the inconsistent frames. It didn't stay exactly, like it wasn't good enough for Disney style. And then I fixed it all, and I can't show it right now, but I fixed them, and I can tell you that I fixed them the right way. And the thing about Nuka is, some might view him as just a little weakling, but the truth is, you never really, we didn't see much about him. You didn't see him. You didn't see who he really was. All you saw was who he acted on the surface because of, like, sure, maybe not. Basically, you could love to think that they had gone through training their whole early lives, like Nuka, Vitani, and Kobu. Nuka maybe not so much, but still, if Nuka really wanted to try and please her, like approve his mother's approval, of course he would try to he'd try to improve himself for the sake of her. So he'd at least be strong. Like he'd be strong in a sense. He might even have and he has to have some kind of quality that's maybe on the same level or higher than Kobu and Vitani's. And the only thing that pissed me off is that Kobu and Vitani, Kobu never fought. You know what I mean? You could never see their real potential, like what they're training. You know, they're training what they got out of it. So you would love to think Nuka is one of those guys he really you never saw who he really was. He had a lot of potential. He's gonna be one of those characters in this where he's he realizes how strong he really is and how much he's really capable of. And the same goes for Kiara. Some may view her as just an annoying little pawn, but the thing is, when you watch this, the screenplay, I'm basically secretly poking fun at how bad the second movie was. Because, and with Kiara, she's gonna develop an inferiority complex in this, but obviously she's smart and strong, and she's very smart and she's strong. She's a very amazing person, but you obviously didn't see any of this because, lo, it's a crappy movie, and she was treated as a Mary Sue, and you know this wasn't the case. So, I guess I just pretty much will explain the basis. Basically, the film centers around Simba, Nala, Kiara, Nuka, Vitani, and Kobu as the six main characters, and they form an alliance known as the Royale Six to deal with a new threat, a group of radicals who are trying to eliminate all lions, led by a serval named Hasara. And not only are they trying to deal with this, they're trying to deal with the fact that Zira is Nuka, Kobu, and Vitani are trying to deal with the fact that Zira is back, and some new characters, obviously. And at the same time, Rafiki decides that these guys have gone through their have left a lot of unresolved things in their minds, and if they don't do something about it, they will collapse under themselves and they will be destroyed by their own selves. So Rafiki calls the great calls the great kings to have them initiate what is known as the dream trials, which is simply just another way of which the great kings guide those who are on earth. And basically, all six of them will confront their pasts and their faults, because the main question they're trying to answer, because of our faults and because of all the mistakes we have made in our past, does that make us monsters in the eyes of everyone else? And you're going to see like a lot of that, just how much emotion they've bottled up inside of them. Like you could tell Simba has a lot of bottled up inside him, for example, because he has held on to his hatred for no reason. Why would he have to hold on to a hatred of somebody whom he's already fought and confronted, and whom has already, you could tell, already paid the price? Why would he continue to hate him? Yeah, he killed his father, and it was a really big, traumatizing thing for him, but you have to let go eventually. I mean, it's hard, but you could tell that even though he claims to have forgiven everybody and accepted the Outlanders back, he would obviously still hate the guy, and he would still distrust people. He's just that kind of guy, and it's just not fair. It's just not fair to other people. Like, most people would probably view him as a very bad person. He has become a crappy person. I At first I really hated him for this, but I like him just as much as everybody else because he was the protagonist of the first film, and that's why some people sympathize with him because he was the protagonist, and that's whose story you saw. But he'll still be the main guy in this. But there are six characters that are the main guys, but like he'll be mostly the main guy because he's their leader, and you may think that he doesn't, but he actually does carry the most pain out of anyone. Kobanuka Mitani, yeah, their mother may have done some not so great things, but she didn't literally abuse them, because remember, this is Disney. Disney says no really dark stuff, no suicide, no super dark, abusive, like really dark crap that's in fan fiction a lot of days. But still to a certain extent, because this is PG and it just turns to be darker than G-rated films, but not super dark. I'm surprised how much Toy Story could have gotten away with and be awesome, it still managed to be a G-rated film. But anyways, I just use an example because it's the best example I've researched. So basically, oh crap, I think I forgot where I was at. Simba. Yeah, Simba carries the most pain. He has fate. Not only does he have to deal with the fact of the burden of that he ran away from his past for so many years while they suffered, his friends and family suffered. He was blamed for his uncle tried to play mind games and blame him for his father's death, whom was already Scar's responsibility. And his own family member did this to him. The fact that somebody in his own family who's supposed to be a loving, caring person did this, it was just so much to take in. It wasn't fair. And then he has to deal with the burden of the fact that, like, now he had to deal with the fact that he banished his own citizens simply because of just they were so-called followers of Scar. And they probably didn't even do anything. Some might view that they killed his son, but his son doesn't exist in the canon. It's just in the dumb books. The books are not canon to the movies, and people just need to learn to accept that. And really, the thing about it is, like, Simba now he has to deal with the fact that his daughter is in her mate is now one of the people who have been exiled for a long time and have suffered for this. And now with this film, the other guys, like all the other outsiders, and now Anuka, the fact that like he caused an entire family to suffer, and that family is now living in the same den as he is. It's such a big burden because like these are I can't believe like everybody is taking a mental step back before they can move forward. They have to go back and confront the past before the past catches up to them and kills them. In a figurative and maybe the same way. And Simba especially, it's like, oh my god, what have I done? I have just been caught up in what I thought was best and like what I wanted. And my father told me that there was more to being king than getting your way all the time. And while I haven't selfishly done it as much as in the same way Scar did, I definitely have gotten my way all the time because I just was against everything that wasn't what I thought was best. Like, oh, my daughter went against what I said. and she befriended an outsider, and now it's a pretty dumb plot, because it's a ripoff of Romeo and Juliet, but it it's canon. We have to accept this did happen, so I'm just gonna have to accept that it happened in the canon. I guess life is like that sometimes. I guess I could put it that way. But anyway, Simba's thinking, my daughter went against what I said, and it turns out she was right, and I was a complete fool for all these years because I thought I was completely wrong about these guys. They were actually pretty decent people. And maybe something happened with Zero, and I just made everything worse. Maybe I'm the reason that she was like that. I'm the reason that that family was the way it was. It was just like, oh my God, like I can't believe how much of a monster I really am. I ignore I go against whatever I don't agree with. I don't trust anybody. I'm paranoid over somebody who's been dead for years and the fact that I had to go and fight my uncle, and like the fact that I tried to give him a chance, and he may be responsible for his death, but I was part of it, and he was my family, and I used to think he was such a nice guy, and he was my father's brother, and I love my father so much, and then I love Nala so much and everything. And it's like, oh, I love my family so much, but I can't believe like how terrible I've treated everybody, and it's like, why have I done this? It's like I can't believe I have done this. It's just outrageous that I have done it. You know, it just it doesn't seem fair. It's like, oh my God, it's not fair that I've been so self-centered. I've been worrying too much about me and what I should do, and I haven't really paid attention to what I should do for the sake of others. And while I have tried to do that, I ultimately failed in the most part, and I brainwashed the entire kingdom into thinking. Technically, I brainwashed the kingdom into thinking what I thought just because I'm the king. And while it may not be as extreme as like other guys try to warp people into believing, I still warped people into believing things that only I felt and which they didn't deserve to feel. But now they do feel because I've been telling them this for so long. Basically, Simba's in the most pain. He just is in the most pain by default. He's the protagonist. Like, he has the biggest story, and he is the one in the most pain. They're all in a lot of pain, like all six of them, but Simba especially. Because he's the one who had to carry the burden of it all, because he was the leader. He had to deal with everything, and now he has to deal with this new threat, and the fact that not only is his entire family and the family that his daughter is now, like, part of, but, like, everything else. It's just not fair. It just is terrible, but you guys shouldn't worry. There will be a happy ending. And I guess the whole reason I'm telling you guys is that I just want people to know, like, why I'm doing this. I mean, I want to do this for the sake of the fans, but I know not to listen to them because that's the reason some things have fallen. I mean, even now, I'm just sitting on the bed, and it's late at night, and I'm reading this, and just telling you, I'm telling you guys this, watching Family Guy, like, the old episodes where the show sucked. But I'm just trying to tell everybody, whoever's listening, and I hope enough people listen so that they know there's somebody out there who's trying to fix the damage that has been done to a franchise, and who eventually will create his own original works for many years, and will which become a legacy. Hopefully become a legacy, and just, I'll be one of those guys that everybody just loved. Like, I'm glad this guy lives, and I'm glad of what he gave to everybody. And then to think it all started with when he wrote a screenplay to a movie sequel. I guess that's what I want to do most, so, like, everybody out there, I'll keep on working on this. I may be a bit lazy now, but I'll try to do the best I can while tackling other things. And I swear to all of you, I promise to every single Lion King fan who has stuck with the franchise and continues to be a fan even when nothing has happened for years, you will get what you deserve. You will get a great movie, and you will get an original storyline, and you will get closure to a lot of things. And most importantly, you'll get another happy memory that was not a part of your childhood, to all of you 90s kids, and of which your kids can be proud that they saw too. Just because a new generation comes doesn't mean that everything will be worse. Everybody seems to think that the world will end or that this generation is the worst. That's just a universal thing that everybody thinks throughout the centuries. But it's not true. Everybody knows it's not true. We may have our fair share of crap, but we have a lot of amazing things of our era to be proud of. And I hope that one day, the screenplay, this movie, and everything else that I will give for many years to the community will be one of them. Farewell for now. I must go back to my work. I must go back to sleep. And I must continue working. I must continue pressing on to give you all a glorious memory in the making.